My name is Irina Petrovska-Marciano. I am a board member of the Ukrainian American Cultural Club of Houston. And today we are here to talk about pretty important topic, I think, to those that are on this call and a lot of other people, and especially a lot of other children in Ukraine, which is education in the wartime. I guess I will start by talking a little bit about the people that we have here with us. As I have mentioned, Anna Novosad, she is a Ukrainian educational activist. She also used to serve for many years in various positions throughout the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, culminating in her becoming minister throughout 2019-2020. She contributed and led quite a comprehensive school reform in Ukraine, as well as was a leader of the higher education funding reform. In 2021 and 22, Anna completed a Hubert Humphreys Fellowship Program at Vanderbilt University here in the United States. She is currently a leader of Save Ed, and the key goal is to aims at renewal of education access in Ukraine upon the completion of the Russian war. Our second speaker today is Katerina Manoff again. As I've mentioned, she is Ukrainian-born, based in United States. She's a non-profit leader with over a decade of experience in the education field. After beginning her career as an investment banker, she got her master's in education and worked in a variety of roles in charter schools, public schools, ed tech startups, and a variety of nonprofits. She founded ENGin in 2020 to transform Ukraine through the power of English language and international connections. And she's currently navigating a challenging environment of running an organization like that in a wartime. She's also a mom of 2 young girls and enjoys writing in her spare time. So with that, what I wanted to say is the reason why we are here, and the reason why me, a board member of a small Ukrainian nonprofit organization in Texas, is setting up this conversation here on LinkedIn to try and really give exposure to these 2 great initiatives and 2 great organizations is that Ukrainian American Cultural Club of Houston have been trying to do our best to support with, I would say, micro-granting initiatives that would often be overlooked, not because necessarily they are unworthy of support, but because for majority of people, a lot of the support pouring into Ukraine is pouring to the front lines, which is very just. I will very briefly share with you just one-page overview of the projects and the organizations that Ukrainian American Cultural Club of Houston have supported since the start of the war. A lot of these organizations were nominated for support by our current club members, people that intimately involved with these organizations, or have people who came to Houston from Ukraine and still have very strong roots back in the country. To date, we were able to support 19 projects, out of them Save Ed and ENGin projects, with the total amount of about $153,000. More or less equally split between projects focusing on education, medical support, as well as humanitarian aid throughout Ukraine. Please, if you would like to know more about our club, reach out to me directly. I would be very happy to answer your questions and point you in the right directions if you have a particular passion of supporting Ukraine in this great time of need. With that, I guess I want to stop sharing this, and I will give the floor, I guess, to our special guests, starting with Anna Novosad. Again, thank you very much for being here. How are you? Where are you right now?
Hi, Irina and Katerina and all who is listening to us. Thank you very much for organizing this conversation. I think it is now more than 7 months into this war. It's very important to keep the world and also Ukrainians and those who support Ukraine still informed about what's going on here. I'm in Kyiv, in Ukraine. I've been here the last months. How am I? Well, this week, since last Monday, is just one long week, I guess, because we have non-stop, continuous missile and attacks on Kyiv and all the cities of Ukraine, and also Iranian drone attacks. So it's pretty never. It's not ending. We have the sirens during the whole day. Yesterday it was like for 8 hours. Day before that it was roughly 9 hours. So it's a bit emotionally hard to sustain that something explodes in your city every day, and it's a bit weird, as it's weird how as a human being you adapt to the most horrible things. Like I know that if Russians launch missiles in Crimea or from Caspian Sea, then I feel a bit relaxed because I know that I have at least 30 to 40 minutes to finish my stuff. I don't know, to finish my morning coffee and then go to parking garage. But when they shoot it from Belarus, then we have just a couple of minutes to get down, and that really surprises me because I got terrified how, like, why do I have to adapt for things like that, right? But on the other hand, I have nothing to complain about, because in Kharkiv, that gets just completely destroyed by Russia, a time of missile reaching the city is just 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So the sirens do not even have a chance to get on. So there's really very different situation right now in Ukraine across the regions. But what really unites us all is that we are under everyday attack by Russians, and now with the Iran's help, it's getting just much worse. However, people that I see in every morning and every evening in my parking garage are very defiant. There are a lot of kids, a lot of people, a lot of animals, and these people are not running away. And I think this is exactly what Russians want with these strikes, is for us to leave the city, to leave the country, and never get back. But I don't think they are getting just that.
Thank you very much. Katerina, same question to you. Where are you? How are you?
So I'm outside of Washington, D.C., so very different, I guess, physically, but I would say emotionally. My team is in Ukraine, and so I've been vicariously going through a lot of this as well, and just trying to navigate how I can support them through these extremely difficult times. And very impressed by seeing the same defiance and inspiration, and commitment to keep working and keep on going as normal. So yeah, so trying to just do the best I can from here to support all of my team members in Ukraine.
I guess next question that I wanted to pose to both of you is, what changed up to February 24th? Were you, I guess, for both personally and professionally, what changed for you since the start of this active phase of invasion? I guess it's important to point out that the invasion actually began in 2014, and parts of Ukraine have been occupied since then. But this brutal attack that have been escalated since February, what changed for you, and what changed for your organizations, if they already existed, or how did they come about? I guess, Anna?
Yeah. Well, for me, my whole life changed completely, and I think irrevocably. So I was before that, before the full-scale invasion of Russia, I was actually in Nashville at Vanderbilt University, and my aim was, what I was doing in the US was exploring your high schools, private high schools, looking at various models in the US with regard to high school models, because I wanted to set up my own private high school here in Kyiv once back from the US. But just in case, I returned home just to be here within all that media hysteria. I returned on 21st of February, just 3 days before the invasion. And obviously, I stayed here. I spent here 2 months, and only like in mid-April, when it was clear that this war is for a very long time, I decided that I will return to the US and finish, wrap up my fellowship, spent a bit time in the DC trying to fundraise for the recovery. So for me, everything changed, it might seem absurd, and forgive me for that, but for better, for worse and better. And when I say better, it's probably only for me and for millions of Ukrainians, we have a sense of purpose, I think, for the rest of our lives, because what's been done with the country is a tremendous catastrophe, and there is a lot of restore, a lot of renew, not even waiting until the war ends. There is a lot of things to do while the aggression is ongoing. So for me right now, it's a totally different purpose of my professional work, and what I do is basically my life, to try to help Ukrainian communities, Ukrainian schools to renew access to education. And before that, and I'll finish, before that, when I was actually in the US, I was exploring all this US high school models, and I wanted to do the school here. And I had a little group of people whom I was supposed to do that with. We were already like found investors for the school. And a colleague of mine who was supposed to be a principal of this school, he had a chance, or he had a bad luck to live in Borodyanka. And then I spoke with him last time on 21st of February when I was evacuated from Kyiv, and like I told him, like, get out of there. He said, like, who needs Borodyanka? Like, this is the little village, not far, pretty far, like 50 kilometers from Kyiv, but like, who would need that? And he was air bombed with his family in that house that in all the pictures. And we like only managed to rescue his body in early April. So after that, there are no plans to do a school. All this has been kind of stored in the closet for maybe better times. And right now, for me and for all my colleagues, it's just one purpose: to help people here on the ground to at least somehow keep connection with education, because and we will probably talk about it later, Russians not only fight against people here, but they also fight very, very intentionally against our education, and very consciously.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you for sharing this personal story. I think it's very important for people to recognize that behind coverage on CNN or Fox News, there is always a personal story, and there are people actively losing loved ones, not just on the front lines, but in their beds and in their schools. Thank you again. I guess we can proceed with talking a little bit something that Anna, you touched on, why education, and I think this is where Katerina was kind of getting into. We all made a choice where we were going to spend our time, energy, and for some of us, money moving forward. A lot of that went into the front line, but some people like yourself, beyond, I'm sure, supporting the front line, recognize this deliberate campaign of destruction, not just of tangible things, but also intangible, valuable stuff like education.
Yeah, I think this is something that educators across the world, universities, academic communities, and I think US is, I'm sure, and everyone knows that US is very strong in academia and all these intellectual circles. Everyone has to understand one simple thing, that Russia, as I said, very deliberately destroys our education. And if we look back at our history, they've been there's nothing new in that, right? They've been doing that for centuries, destroying our language, destroying our culture, not allowing Ukrainian language to exist. And this is exactly what they do right now during this large-scale invasion in the 21st century. When you look at the occupied territories, the first thing, well, probably the second thing they do after invading and occupying territories is terrorizing teachers, taking them, kidnapping them, and keeping them in the basements, torturing them, forcing them to collaborate, destroying and burning Ukrainian books, for God's sake, forbidding Ukrainian letter Y. This is the letter I with 2 dots in our language. This is very distinctive from Russian language. That is why it's very Ukrainian symbol. They forbid that. And also, when you look at the map of bombing, so for instance, the city of Chernihiv, where I very intensively work with our team on recovery, Russians bombed 27 out of 34 schools. If you look at the destroyed infrastructure in the city, education is number one. And they've been doing that very, very intentionally, right? On the one hand, probably they see it as military sites, but on the other hand, they also destroy them very deliberately, so there is nothing to get back. And current situation in the liberated areas and also across the rest of the country, that where there is no active military actions apart from missiles, there are hundreds and hundreds of families with children who are back, and these people need education, right? So this is in our case, education renewal of access to education is not a luxury. It's not something that we can wait until the victory. This is a critical need here and now, because it is really a basic service, but also this is something that makes our women who reside temporarily abroad, it's a kind of decisive element for them, right? Is there a school in my neighborhood so that my kid could go to it? And they decide based on that. And for instance, the same city of Chernihiv, it's a northern city. It's a city that has been, Russians didn't manage to capture. There are 80% of children are back to the city, right? And with this 27 schools heavily damaged out of 34, they all have pretty rough time with school and education. So yeah, just a few takeaways. Russia does that very, very intentionally, and they do want Ukrainians to kind of, how to say, stay. I'm not even sure how to formulate that. They want to deprive us of everything that makes us, intelligent, that makes us brighter, that makes us civilized, that starts with light and electricity during the last weeks, and that ends with schooling. And I think everyone has to have their fronts, right? And education is probably mine.
I guess cycling back a little bit to the question, what impact does external funding make for your organization, Katerina, for ENGin? Can you talk a little bit about what ENGin used to be before the war and what is it now? And I guess covering a little bit more ground, what were you able to accomplish using the funding that Ukrainian American Cultural Club of Houston was able to redistribute, that was donated to us, similarly as we did with Save Ed? The floor is yours.
So for us, after the war, after we paused and kind of asked ourselves this existential question, does education matter now when people are getting murdered every day? And decided that yes, it does. And that decision came from the team in Ukraine, from our students. We saw that if anything, there was actually a lot more interest in our program. So we just do this one program, right? Free English practice and cultural exchange online, 1 hour a week for before the war, high school and college students. After the war started, we had a huge wave of demand from young adults. And so we really wanted to respond to that demand by opening up our program. We were able to raise our age limit from 22 to 35 and serve a whole entire new population of young Ukrainians who needed English, not just, in a few years when I finish high school and college and I'm looking for a job, but I need it now because I lost my job due to the war, like over half of Ukrainians did. I think it was a survey from March that I remember we were looking at, and we said, wow, there's all these people that need work, and who's hiring? Unfortunately, not most Ukrainian companies, but international companies, remote jobs, even for people in Ukraine with English fluency, there were opportunities, international companies really coming together to create professional opportunities for Ukrainians, and English very often was that missing piece. And we were able to step in and provide that. And to do that, we needed two things. One is adult volunteers, which we started working with volunteers of all ages, and really going all over the United States and the world looking for English speakers who would volunteer with us. But then the funding is obviously the other key piece, because to run our program, we need our team who processes all the applications, who interviews students and volunteers, who makes the matches, the one-on-one matches between every student and volunteer, and then provides the support throughout. Because remember, we're not working with professional teachers, we're working with just regular people who speak English. And in order to help them be successful and help them and their students have a good experience, there's a lot of work that goes into that. So we're very grateful to get the grant from the Ukrainian American Cultural Club of Houston, because it allowed us to expand the program and serve this new audience that really, really needed us. And because our program is just $20 per participant, the grant really did make a big difference in terms of how many people we can serve. And unfortunately, the fact is that there's always so many more than we can reach. We have hundreds of people applying every week. So we're definitely not stopping. We're continuing to fundraise and looking for new partners, because, as many people as we help, there's always more we need to help. And we just hope to keep doing that until we bring this program to everyone who is interested.
Thank you so much. I guess my question is, can you, I guess, we've talked a lot about important things, tragic things, unfortunate things. Can you maybe share, and I'll put you both on the spot a little bit, can you please share maybe like one story that kind of, when you think about that particular person or that particular project or that particular day, that it makes it all worthwhile, and then kind of keeps you going, keeps you moving forward, and not stopping? Anna?
Yeah. There are just so many stories here, and at some point, I'm sorry, that might sound absurd, but at some point you just get numb, to everything that happens around, and you cannot be impressed anymore. You just because I think the brain just cannot cope with everything that happens, and with all these emotions of people and of yourself. It's very hard to have just one, but probably to me a very inspiring example of what we do, and that brings me kind of confidence that we do right things, is little village of Bogdanivka. This is just 30 kilometers away from Kyiv. This village it's the closest occupied settlement to Kyiv. They stayed under occupation for the whole March. And this is one of the examples of a case when Russians were retrieving. They were living in school, and when they were retrieving, they set it on fire. And in the kindergarten, they were keeping the ammunition, and they didn't take away the ammunition when they were retrieving. Instead, they were taking with them a lot of this washing machines, stoves, and things like that. And they exploded the kindergarten. So it's completely destroyed because of the number of ammunition that was there. And so kids there have absolutely nothing. 500 kids right now. The smallest are the primary school kids are bused 25 kilometers to their nearby community, and high schoolers and basic school, they stay at home, study online, because there is just nothing. However, there is a premises of a communal cultural house that survived. And we have, it's maybe around, I don't know, 300, 400 square meters, something like that. And we agreed with the local city council that we have funds to converted into a temporary learning space to provide it, to rehabilitate it completely, do a nice renovation, to procure furniture, learning materials, devices, laptops and tablets, to make a sort of a space for kids to come to study if they don't have laptops at home because they were stolen. Or to do their like classes, but also to provide a separate space for primary school kids. At least like we arranged there at least 3 classrooms for primary school kids to attend. So to me, it's just an example, you know, that we don't have to wait until the war is over, because it will take not 1 more months. It will last for a long time, and we cannot wait. So we have to be creative with the solutions and how we provide at least some access to some education. And to me, that sort of solution, seeing how we started that in the end of July, and now it's fully operational, and kids can go there and attend it and just, you know, spend time together. That's probably, in all the situation, it's probably the most important thing, that they all can get together and be together and socialize and just, you know, have a bit of fun together. So to me, that's probably one of the many examples that really inspires me with what we do. But there are so many human stories from every school that, you know, it's just very hard to choose just one.
Thank you. Katerina, something that inspires you or helps you keep going?
Yeah, I guess my example is a little bittersweet. So when I was, we were doing a fundraising drive in August, and I included the information in our email to our students, and I didn't really expect to get many donations because we're talking about young people in Ukraine during the war. And we ended up getting over 600 donations from our students, and I was just shocked. I was honestly crying because, you know, to see how much they care about their program. And, you know, we're talking about, you know, $2, $3 per person, but given, you know, the economic situation there, given how much the currency has been devalued, and just all of the struggles, we're talking about people who often don't have a job, and that they chose to support our program financially with some of their, you know, very few hryvnias. It really made an impact on me, and it made me a little sad, because, you know, at the same time I'm going around asking, you know, multi-million-dollar organizations for money, and they say, no, this isn't important. And if they were, you know, a fraction as generous as these young people from Ukraine, you know, I mean, I would be set, because, like I said, our program is pretty cost effective. And yeah, so I guess it's like a happy and a sad story, because to be told over and over again, this isn't important, this isn't needed, but then the people with the actual lived experience care about it so much. And these are some people, you know, they've gone through the program, they got their volunteers, they don't need to give me money for themselves. They're giving me money so that other students can go through what they went through. And yeah, just their unselfishness and their belief in our program was something. It's something I still think about. You know, like I said, this was back in the beginning of August, and now whenever I feel like giving up, I think back and I say, well, no, I mean, they believed in me, and so I owe it to them to keep going forward.
I guess for parting words, maybe both of you can wrap up with a message, I guess, to the audience here in US or globally, if people in other countries get to watch this video.
Well, I think the message is, the primary message is for everyone to understand and believe that Ukrainians will not give up. I mean, right now, I remember the mood back in end of February and early March, like everyone, including myself, were like, how many days more? How many days more? You were like, we couldn't take it. Now no one asked that question. Everyone understands that this is the war until the end, and the end is the solution of Russia. And without that, Ukraine will never be fully, not free, I would say, but fully kind of independent from all the suffering that Russia brings to us, right? So everyone is very defined here, regardless of everyday terror that people go through. The second thing is we don't have to wait until the war is over. So many things can be happening and have to happen in parallel, including our modernization. Those schools that have been destroyed, they don't have to be built back just as they were, just as former Soviet or post-Soviet buildings with the same content. It's a, on the one hand, tragic, but on the other hand, a huge chance for us to build back better. And this is where we need your help, not only funds, but also expertise, involvement. And it's a unique time where we can do it case by case. We cannot restore, there is no one size fits all policy right now, no one size fits all solution. Every community is unique in its problems and its needs, and every school is unique. And this is a really sorry, every loud sound right now is a bit disturbing, but every school is unique in the way it can be rebuilt, and we are looking for partners to match and do sort of like twinnings. And the last thing, this war and the consequences will last, and I know that there is a media hype that the wave is going down, but for many people here and those who are scattered around around planet, this is the very, very long-term reality. And I think we have to kind of somehow stay vigilant to those needs and try to accommodate them, no matter how much time passes by and no matter who is in the Senate or Congress. I think people of the United States have to be supportive, because well, if Russia and Iran and Syria win, then what all these have been for.
Thank you, Anna. Before we jump to Katerina, there was a little question that came in on whether you have considered implementing similar style of fundraising using subscriptions, such was implemented by Ukraine 24 and Come Back Alive.
Yeah, so we have just last week launched our partnership with Nova Ukraine. You might know that NGO that is based in the US, and we are doing exactly the same thing with them. We still have to kind of extend it a bit in terms of visibility, but we thought that it's a more secure way to, so to say, enter the United States, where you have a reliable, reputable partner on the ground who can partner with us on fundraising.
Katerina?
Yes, for me, I think my final words to anyone watching this is that you might be thinking that I'm just a regular person. So, what can I do with these really huge problems? And I want to say that, unlike Anna, who I'm very impressed with, I am just a regular person. I haven't been a minister of anything. I'm just a mom who wants to make the world better. And I started ENGin without any contacts, without any money, without anything. It was just me and an idea. And I'm still shocked every day that it's come this far, that we've served 11,000 students. And everything that's happened so far has been the result of, regular people coming to me and saying, I'd like to help. People like you, Ira, who are one of my first mom friends back in Houston when we both had babies. And, I mean, when we met, I wasn't thinking in a few years, maybe, we'll both be working in Ukraine and we'll collaborate and you'll support ENGin. But that's how it's all happened. All of our individual donations and small grants we've gotten. I mean, it's all been regular people helping. I haven't had luck breaking into, these international mega donors, and maybe one day. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it is possible to have a really big impact, even if you're a regular person. So I would encourage everyone to think about how you can help Ukraine, whether it be, through Saved or ENGin or anything else that you're passionate about and qualified to help with. I think everyone has a part to play, and you can be surprised what one regular person can do.
Well, thank you both for joining me today. I definitely felt some sense of, I guess, relief seeing the impact that our small community was able to have through you in Ukraine. And I echo both of your kind of closing words in both Anna's sentiment that there is a clear realization that this is not going to end tomorrow. And there is a clear realization that we are here for the fight, and we are ready to give it our all. And yes, Katerina, it's everybody. You know, it's average Ukrainians fighting to defend their future and their country, and average Americans here attending fundraising events, buying cookies, buying t-shirts, or making individual donations.